Hello, class. In this video, I wanted to walk you through the solutions to Lab 1. For problems 1 and 2, it asks you to select the graph that best illustrates the situation. So the first one says your pulse rate during an aerobics class. So notice your pulse rate wouldn't start at 0 because, anything that's living would have some type of resting pulse rate. As you begin working out, your pulse rate will rise, and then eventually your pulse rate will cool down to your resting pulse rate. So that's the first one. Most of you got this correct. The second question, however, caused a little bit of trouble. If we think about this problem, the faster your car travels, the greater the number of feet that will be required to stop your car. So for example, if you were traveling 0 miles an hour, the number of feet required to stop would be 0. But if you were traveling, say, 100 miles per hour, the number of feet required to stop would be, a large amount, right? So if you were in Brookdale's parking lot traveling, say, 10 miles an hour, the number of feet required to stop, I don't know, maybe it's 10 feet, 15 feet. But if you were traveling 100 miles an hour, the number of feet required to stop would certainly be greater than 10 or 15 feet. So the greater your speed, the greater the number of feet required to stop. Next problem. It says we have to create the graph to match a story. So the first line segment should be Sheila walks from her home to the store. She realizes she forgets something, so she walks back home. She spends a little bit of time looking for money, and then she walks all the way to the store. Your lines should be straight, and there shouldn't be any curve. There were a few of you that had curved lines. It should really just be line segments that are point A to point B, straight line, and so on. The only definition that I'll ask you to remember would be a function is a correspondence or a relationship between an input and an output in which each input has exactly one output. That's the definition of our function. Next, and this is something that will come up quite often, I'm going to ask you to identify the input and output. So when you see the amount of sales tax on an item is a function of the cost of an item, whatever comes after the word function of is always your input. So a function of blah, blah, blah. Well, the blah, blah, blah would be your input. So in this case, a function of cost. So we know cost is our input, sales tax is our output. Okay. So when we have to label this, and write in function notation, we should label, okay, we're going to use the letter A for our amount of sales tax and C for our cost of the item. Some of you use X and Y, or actually X and Y, and that's fine. Whatever letter you pick works, okay? So the input was the cost, and we labeled that with a variable letter, and the output was the amount of sales tax. So again, the tax is a function of cost, right? Think of the equal sign as the word is. Right? And if A is the amount of tax, right? Tax is a function of cost. Okay? So remember, the input is always in parentheses. Right? So if you did A equals F of C, or F of C equals A, both of these would be correct. And then I'm definitely going to ask you to interpret this. Okay? So knowing that F of C equals A, what does this actually mean? Well, if we have an item that costs $80, the sales tax is $4.80. That's it. If you have any questions with this lab, please let me know. I'm going to scroll through the answers one more time, just so if you wanted to take a screenshot or a screen grab. Question 1 with a detailed explanation. Question 2 with a detailed explanation. Here's question 3. Question 4. And question 5. And it looks like, 5B and 5C. So here's 5B and 5C. Again, please let me know if you have any questions. For those of you that are really struggling, remember, I have a class on campus. If you ever wanted to sit through one of my classes, you could. I'm also on the Freehold and Landcraft campus, so if you want to maybe just meet for a 30-minute, study session, I'll do whatever I can to help you to make sure you folks understand this material. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.